Hi, my name is Kimberly Archuleta, and this is the Awakening series where we bring brilliant minds together. Today we have the amazing Brandon Foster. He is a well-known mind expert. What sets his heart on fire is encouraging, inspiring, and motivating and teaching others how to live their dream lives. Welcome, Brandon, to the show. Thank you so much. We're so honored to have you.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm excited to be here. And I know we're recording this on a Friday, so happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday. Yes, thank you so much. Happy Friday to you. So happy we're doing this on a Friday. So quick question for you as far as a mind expert. When do you feel people are stuck? I mean, I don't even know. How do people get stuck? And like, when does this happen? What's going on with this stuck? Because a lot of people are stuck and there's this will and they keep doing it. It's a pattern. I feel like I've done this so many times and I need to get out of it. But how does that happen?
Yeah, so I think feeling stuck is like one of the worst feelings in the world. Can we just admit that? Because when you feel stuck, it's like kind of like you said, it's like you're in that hamster wheel and it's like your feet are going as fast as you can so you don't want to be stuck and you see the wheel moving, but you're not getting any place. And what's really happening is when people are stuck, it's because, like you said, you're repeating basically the same patterns over and over again. So you're not getting to your new destination that you actually want to go to. So there's several different reasons of why people find that they're stuck, right? One of the biggest things is that they, fear, worry, and doubt. Because the reality of it is, if you want to change any aspect of your life, whether it is your finances, whether it is your relationships with people around you, whether business or romantic, whether you want to change your career trajectory, you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is, if you want to see change in your life, you have to do things differently, right? And so what happens is whenever you're doing something differently you've never done before, you hit what's called a terror barrier. And that terror barrier is when your brain kicks in trying to keep you safe and is like, Kimberly, Brandon, what are we doing? We've never done this before. This is scary. This is the unknown. And so we step back into our old habits and we keep ourselves safe by not actually stepping out into the unknown. And the reality of it is that unknown is where the change can actually occur in our lives. And there's basically three things that you can change to create massive change in your life. One is your beliefs. So a belief is just your pattern of thought. So changing the way that you believe and perceive about yourself. The second is your identity, which is at your core, like who are you? And the third one is really, learning new things, because there is practical pieces, right? I know there's a lot of people who love The Secret. I love The Secret too, but boo, you got to get up off the couch, right? You got to get up off the couch. And so there's always a level of practicality for you to do, right? And a part of that is actually learning what those practical pieces are. So many people learn and don't apply, right? And it's like, you can read all the books in the world, boo, but if you don't actually apply that new knowledge, you're not actually growing.
I love that you said that. I am a fanatic on Audible, and I will just listen to as many books as I can throughout the week on my off time. But, am I really applying it? Am I sitting down and writing out certain things that I like about it, or notes, or because it's Audible, I'm not really writing the notes down. I'm not highlighting like I would if I were reading a book, and I'm probably not remembering what I was just doing. So that application starts from like what you're most passionate about, which I love books, So I actually recently started writing out what I really liked about the book, kind of summarizing it, and then going back and rereading my verbiage on that book. So that's a different pattern. I've not really ever done that. So now I'm like, I should do book reviews. This is awesome. Yeah, like I really got this book.
That's a huge realization. And I'm so proud of you that you noticed that. So there's a couple different things that I want to point out, which is a lot of people are going to relate to this. One is that when you listen to an Audible book, because I love Audibles too. I listen all the time when I'm working out. In fact, that's when I do a lot of my research and learning and applications and, thinking in my head is when I'm working out. But I repeat the process over and over again. So whenever you are listening to something or you're doing a new application, it's really important to repeat it over and over again. In fact, people are like, why do affirmations work? And affirmations work because, and if you're not familiar with affirmations, basically it's like a new thought that you maybe don't quite believe yet, but you want to believe about yourself or your life, whatever it is. And so the reason why affirmations work is because of the repetitiveness of it. And you become attached to it and becomes ingrained in you, right? So listening to new information on Audibles is like that. But I want to go back to what you said about actually taking notes, because I was listening to somebody, and I can't remember his name, but he had such a brilliant take on notes. He's like, you take notes and you make notes. Taking notes is actually receiving the material. So you're listening and you're taking notes to receive it, right? Making notes is writing down how you're actually going to apply the notes to your business or to your life or to your relationships. And that's the action plan. And so many people receive or take, but they don't ever take the action, right? And the action is really what transforms people's lives.
I love that. I love that, because we are obviously reading this book for a reason. Somebody suggested it, or listening. We really like the title. It resonated with us somehow, some way, and we are connected. We're committed. We are giving our time to this book. Why shouldn't we use what we're listening to and direct that towards something in our life? Like, I love that idea. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And we go back to the terror barrier. Because as you make notes to apply that to your life, then your brain starts to process anytime that you've done something similar, anytime you've done something like new in your business, or if it's relationships, new in relationships, and did it work out or did it not work out? And if it didn't work out, your brain's going to be like, remember that time you tried that one thing that didn't work out? What if that is this? And so again, you hit that terror barrier, and it's where you have to overcome the fear, worry, and doubt to actually apply those principles to whatever aspect of your life that you can apply those principles.
That's brilliant. I love it. Thank you. So quick question. When do our professional and relationship blockages actually occur? Like, when do they happen? Is it when we're kids? Is it when we're 24? I mean, does it happen all the time? Or is it like, it's for me, it'd be good to know so I can kind of like find the root cause of the blockage, or, me not breaking through certain things.
Yeah. So blockages is a good term because it definitely illustrates the idea that something is keeping you from going where you want to go, achieving what you want to achieve, experiencing what you want to experience, right? But the term blockage can also sound like an impossible thing to overcome, right? So I want to encourage everybody and say that it's really about releasing resistance, I think is the easier term than the blockage, right? Because naturally, we all want to experience the same thing, Kimberly, which is love and abundance, right?
Yes. Yes.
We want love in our business. We want our employees to love us. We want our customers to love us. We want love in our relationships. We want like just even vacations, like as another way to experience the love of life. Like everything that we actually want, if you were to boil down to its most simplistic form, is love and abundance. Abundance is just more than you can imagine. That's all abundance is. So, and people get so attached to like financial abundance. Well, really what it is, it's unlimited freedom is what that is, because the more money you have, the more freedom you have to do what you want to do, right? And you're not worried about safety. You're not worried about having food on the table, whatever that is. And so the question about when do those blockages occur, they can really occur at any time in your life, because what happens is you have basically the two biggest decision-making aspects any human has is their brain and their heart. Okay. And the brain, okay, is more of the reactionary and meant to protect you, right? I mean, creativity and so many things, you know, your brain can do amazing things, but think of it as like a computer program. Whereas your heart, it's about, or your heart and your solar plex is about feeling. It's about the emotional aspect, right? And so where people get confused is their brain and their heart, we call it coherence, basically in alignment or in agreement, are not lined up together. And so that's what drives you crazy, because it's like your brain is like, don't do that, it's scary, like you're gonna get hurt. And your heart is like, but it's safe, you have to do this if you want to move to the next level in your business or relationships. So the real question is, the blockages occur when the brain perceives a negative possible outcome. And that negative possible outcome is always going to be tied to a past experience. So when you think about the idea of when do blockages occur, it depends on what action you're trying to take and where that belief or that idea that it's unsafe to take that action, its root cause was formed. So for a lot of people, it's natural for those root causes that keep them safe to happen when they're a kid. Why is that? Because when you're a kid, you don't realize that you can create your own environment because you're a kid, right? You don't control who procreated to have you.
What you're eating for lunch.
What you're eating, where you're living, you know, you don't control your environment at all. And so what happens as a kid is you form your beliefs, your pattern of thoughts, your perception of the world around you. And that's all based in the reality of how you're raised and what adults tell you. And what the thing is like parents, 99.9% of parents always do the very best that they can. But sometimes parents say things that are based on their reality that actually prevents their kids from experiencing the most joyful, abundant life that they can. Because let's say you have a parent who grows up where money is not available to us. We're always going to be poor. You're always going to have a difficult life. If those beliefs are instilled at a very young age, and that's the core belief of that individual, those become the blocks or the resistance to actually living a joyful, abundant life. And that's why I also said, you know, it could happen at any age. If you find the love of your life and then it gets flipped on its head, upside down, the person cheats on you or they lie to you about something that's like a deal breaker, whatever that is, that can become a traumatic experience in your brain. Like my husband survived a rollover accident, okay? His car rolled over 10 times. And so now he has an emotional imprint of that experience in his brain. Science has proven that negative emotional experiences last longer, imprint deeper in our brains than positive ones. And the reason is because the brain is meant to keep us safe. So the brain will recall that to try to prevent that same experience from happening again. And that's what happens when you hit that terror barrier.
Interesting. Wow, that's really powerful. My goodness. Ooh, Brandon, that was deep. Oh my goodness. So let's go a little deeper, possibly. How do we rewrite our life to get the life we deserve?
Yeah, this is like my favorite topic ever. I love this because basically what you're asking me is, Brandon, how do I live my dream life? How do all the desires that I have in my heart, how can we make them true? And, you know, at the very, very core, there's a couple of principles people have to understand. The first thing is that no matter what your current reality is, it does not dictate your future. And I think that's so incredibly important for everybody to hear. And I love to talk about like the Wright brothers who invented the airplane, right? Nobody had ever flown before. So everybody thought they were like lunatics, right? Everybody thought that they were lunatics because they never flown before. I mean, think about Steve Jobs and Apple creating the iPhone and the tablet, right? Never been created before. So when you realize that those people were humans too, they had to eat food, they had to go to the bathroom, they had to sleep at night, right? And they were able to create these amazing things that never existed before. Then you realize that whatever your current reality is, and most people are not trying to create an iPhone, right? That you can actually create your dream life. So once you realize that the possibility exists, the next question is, well, how do I start to move toward whatever my desire is, whatever my dream life is? And it first comes down to a willingness to see things differently. Everybody wants to jump to like belief and action, but because most of us are so reflective on our past, and our past, we give way too much control over our future. When we can begin to shift to see things differently about ourselves and about our past, we actually open ourselves up for a perspective shift. And it really is that perspective shift that will allow you to start to reprogram your brain and your beliefs to take the action steps. And it's really interesting because I was writing a Facebook post today about belief. And there's a huge difference, Kimberly, between what we actually believe and what we want to believe. Because what we want to believe something, it comes from a place of hope, but we don't actually know that we can attain it. And when we hope for something, that means there's still fear, doubt, and worry that needs to be dealt with. But when we actually believe something, we have no doubt and we know it, right? And so that core idea of belief is really, really powerful and really, really strong.
That is really, really strong. So how do we get to the point where we know we're good enough to do that?
Yeah, so being good enough really is like a worthiness thing, is what it is. It's an identity of loving and appreciating yourself. And I can be honest and say that that was my biggest mindset reset I had to do personally in my own life, because I grew up in a very religious Southern Baptist household. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But being gay and the beliefs associated with that made me feel like me being gay I was deserving of nothing but punishment. And I was disgusting, and I was nasty, and I was gross. Hashtag all the things you didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And what that really was is me not accepting myself for who I was. And that's really what worthiness is. Worthiness is realizing that you are a creation from a higher being, whatever you believe, God, angels, universe. And that if you look around us and all the magnificent things in nature, the sun and the mountains and the rivers and all the beauty was created, and we're just as special, more so really, than all that, then we are deserving of everything that our hearts desire, because God, angels, universe put the desire in our hearts, And so worthiness really, when people say that I don't feel worthy of something, what they're really saying is I feel guilty. It's really about guilt and shame. And our bodies, have an emotional closet. And it's kind of like, I love my mom so much. And she had the biggest closet. I remember we had a renovation where it was like we added on just for her closet space. And whenever she wanted to buy new clothes, it was kind of a joke of like, do you have room to put the clothes? Like, where are you gonna put your new shows? Where are you gonna put your clothes, right? And if we want to buy new clothes, we have to make sure we have space in our closets, right? And so sometimes that means that we have to choose to let go of the clothes that we do have to make space for something bigger, better, newer, for as we move on in our future. And we have emotional closets. And so many human beings never clear their emotional closet space. That's actually what depression is. It's a depression and repression of emotional feelings, a lot of times from past negative traumatic experiences, that we don't ever allow those emotions to be felt and released. And the truth is that when you feel your emotions and release them, you clear the space from your emotional closet of your body, which means you can let in joy, love, abundance, like different emotional feelings into our closets. And so the opposites of guilt is forgiveness.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. That's awesome. And I love the analogy of the closet. I can attest to that. But truly, I can really attest to that. But truly, as far as like releasing the old clothes, the old emotions, it's almost like you bypass that because it's so easy to do so. And so they just continue to pile up, but yet they're old and you don't need them anymore. They don't fit anymore, but yet they're still there. So that really makes sense. That's beautiful.
Yeah, they're actually attached to, like, sometimes your clothes can be attached to like an old identity, right?
Right.
And think about, and I remember, and I do this sometimes too with my husband. He'll like just throw stuff away. I'm like, why are you throwing that away? And he's like, because it's old. And I'm like, but then we have to spend money to buy a new one. And he's like, yeah, we're going to buy a better one.
Yeah.
You know, but how much of us, like, we attach to, there's like a payoff, right? And it's, again, that's based on fear. Like, even if it's something as small as like a mixer, right? It's like, but this old mixer works fine. It's like, yeah, but that was 10 years ago. Like, technology's improved so much. There's like a way better mixer that's faster, it's easier, it works better, you know, all that kind of stuff. But why are you afraid to let it go? Because you're attached to it and you're afraid to let it go, you know, when there's like something bigger and better for you.
Love it. Love it. How can we motivate ourselves or continue to motivate ourselves to do what we really want to do in life?
I'm so happy you asked that question. It's such a good question. I always tell people that there's actually not for me, again, somebody else. I really need to remember his name, but it's the 3 M's. It's motivation, mindset, and methods. So you think about methods as the practical pieces. Mindset is how you deal with everything in your brain. And then you have motivation. And I think it's first important to address why all 3 of those are important. So the methods are the practical pieces, right? You can't sit on our couch and expect to have, you know, an amazing 6-7 figure, 8-10 figure business, right? If we don't take any practical steps. So we have to have methods. And then in terms of mindset, if we don't have the right mindset, we're not going to step out into that unknown. We're not going to be able to overcome that terror barrier of fear, worry, and doubt. So that's where mindset comes in. And then the motivation factor is so critically important, because motivation is when things get challenging, is what pushes us through that terror barrier. Motivation is really what propels us through that terror barrier. And motivation is really about, why is this important to me? Why is this important to me? Why is this important to other people? And so it really becomes a heart issue, is what motivation is. Motivation should always be a heart issue. It should be about, why is this going to change the world or change the lives of somebody else? You know, when people have a mission like that, that's not just about, you know, a lot of people, if your motivation is, I want to make money, that's usually not going to get you there. You have to understand that money is exchange of value for service you provide to other people. And people say, well, why is, you know, Amazon Jeff Bezos, why does he make so much money? Think about how the problem he solved with Amazon and how much easier he made everybody's lives, that you can order something and receive it the same day. Right? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, right? So the higher the service, the higher the value, the more money you'll be able to receive. So it really comes back to a heart and a service issue. And the more you're fulfilling your heart's desire to serve the world, the easier it will be to motivate yourself, because it's not about you, it's about serving other people.
I love that. And like at that point in time, it really doesn't it's not really work. It's just the love for life and serving. And oh, that's so wonderful. My goodness. Thank you, Brendan. This was a taste of your mindset reality and the journey you've you've designed for yourself to get to this point. It's wonderful. And just wondering what next for you. Are you gonna, build a course? Are you gonna write a book? What are you gonna do next?
Yeah, so I have several courses that I've already created, and my absolute favorite, they always change, kind of like your kids. You're like, I don't have a favorite. But one I have is called Confident AF. And I love it so much because confidence is really one of the biggest razor's edge from success, because confidence is knowing in your capabilities and abilities. And the more confident you are, the easier it is to pass through those terror barriers at every single level. And it's about overcoming the fear and worry and replacing it with faith and trust. Faith and trust that God, angels, universe has your back. So I love that course. I do have a book that I'm working on, several books that I'm working on. I'm really excited about one called Tuning into Love, Unlocking the Power of Amazing Relationships. And that's a book that is really based on my own experiences and the experience of helping one-on-one coaching clients, and about seeing the best in people. My relationship with my parents disintegrated when I came out, and it's about taking ownership and responsibility and rebuilding relationships and forgiveness and non-judgment and what really is unconditional love. Because unconditional love is acceptance. That's really what unconditional love is, accepting someone who they are and always seeing their best.
That's amazing. I can't wait to read it. Can I have a signed copy when you're finished?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Lovely. Well, Brandon, where can we find you? I'm sure lots of people would love to reach out to you. Where are you?
Yeah, so you can find my website, brandonrfoster.com. You can check me out there and all the digital courses, and then on all the social medias.
Okay, what's your handle? What's your handle? Is it
Brandon R. Foster? So Instagram, like hashtag, all the things.
Lovely. Well, Brandon, you are a saint. I love you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Again, it's an honor to have you on the show. Hopefully we can get you back on here with new insights and more information for our wonderful audience. But truly, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.